I think we can all say that Cyberpunk 2077 was the most hyped game probably ever. The only thing I can really compare this to is Half-Life 3. Valve, the creators of Half-Life, have never and probably will never release it. Not because they can't, but because fans would never accept it. Because hype is dangerous. Without seeing the product, fans will flock over a game's CG trailer, or fuck, even a logo, hoping it will somehow give them that same emotional response when they play games that define their views, like Half-Life, Ocarina of Time, or for me, Kingdom Hearts 2. Back in 2013, I watched a Sony E3 trailer that made me weep tears of joy. My favorite game of all time, Kingdom Hearts 2, was finally getting a well-deserved console-based sequel, and I kept up with all the story and lore passed along, 4 handhelds and 2 mobile games, and for the next few years I would go through every bit of news I could find to get anything on the game, and I waited for 6 years for the game to finally be released, and when I played it, I felt nothing but disappointment. It was basically nothing but Kingdom Hearts 2.95, and its conclusion to a decade's worth of storytelling and anticipation has made me disheartened for the future of the series, even with last year's DLC. That same year, CD Projekt Red released a trailer at E3. And while it was an impressive trailer, what made Cyberpunk 2077 explode with anticipation was the generation-defining game, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and its 2 expansion packs. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game whose hype was as enveloping as anything I've ever seen, and like a snowball, the hype for this game kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it was an avalanche. Originally, the game was going to be released on April 16, 2020. Unfortunately, we had an international pandemic swoop in and force a lot of people indoors, meaning games got pushed back as developers were required to work at home. And understandably, the game was pushed back to September, stating that even though it was complete and playable, it needed a bit more time in the oven. And then delayed to November, promising not to delay the game again. And then they delayed it back to December. Finally, the game released on December 10th, 2020, and after waiting almost 7 years, will this game fully realize the year's worth of hype?
Then check this out.
Derp 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 derp
I can see that the oven wasn't even turned on. Hype destroys a game's image, and I don't think no matter what Cyberpunk looked like on release, fans were going to be disappointed. But I think this was probably the worst game of Rochambeau I've ever felt. Cyberpunk was a disaster, a betrayal of trust, and CD Projekt Red is duly being punished for it. But I enjoyed it. It's strange. My mind is telling me that since the game is so buggy and unoptimized, distracting me from enjoying the game, that should mean it's bad and I should tell you it's bad. But the response we get from games is anything but logical. If there was a specific formula to make perfect games, we would be making them every time. Games and art in general is subjective. There are times we can barely describe the emotional response we experience. The best I can do is take the emotions I felt and tell you why and how I felt that. So, buckle up. Cyberpunk is, well, based off of... Hang on, let me put on my glasses. A lot of Cyberpunk stuff. Akira, Blade Runner, Neuromancer. I felt drawn into this world. Not that this was the next step for the genre, but rather a celebration for it. It wears its influences like a fur coat of giant IPs. The towering, holographic, emitting skyscrapers remind me of the opening scenes of Akira and Blade Runner. The people around you barely resemble humans at all, and enough rogue AIs to fill up a dozen or so novels.
I have a surprise waiting for you after this next test. Telling you would spoil the surprise, so I'll just give you a hint. I'm I'm going to kill you, and all the cake is gone.
Even without the cyberpunk influences, Night City has enough personality to be its own damn spokesperson. From all the food carts and marketplaces to the slums where it's slowly being engulfed by what looks to be sludge rather than water, to the urban destruction in Pacifica, to the freeing emptiness of the Badlands. So much time and care was taken to create this place, and I can't think of another game that put this much work into creating an open world with this many fascinating locales. I mean, the Fallout series make intriguing areas, whereas all of Night City is just memorable. But we don't buy games to look at pretty areas and screenshot them. I mean, I do. But I also like to play the damn things as well. The Witcher 3 was not treading any new ground when it came to its mechanics. What it did do though was take a few common annoyances and made it less annoying than its counterparts. You know in Assassin's Creed, when you have to follow someone but they walk at the slowest speed possible just to fucking annoy you, so you just walk circles around them? Well, in The Witcher 3, they just sprint at the same speed you sprint. And it fucking works. Mechanically, Cyberpunk does almost nothing to improve itself compared to its counterparts. Fuck, they've actually regressed from The Witcher, as you need to follow your slowest companions. That shit really annoys me. So much so that I wrote an entire paragraph on the damn thing. To be honest, I was gonna complain about the shooting and combat, but it's not as bad as what I was originally writing. It's not something I ever got bored with, and you have a lot of flexibility in what you want to do, from hacking enemies to melee combat to whoever the fuck this is, to stealth, if you like wasting your time. But games like Doom Eternal and Hades spoiled me when it came to really fun combat. It's like having an earth between the two. And you should go play those games just because they're more fun to play. Also, the Mantis Blades. A lot of people are comparing this game to Deus Ex due to being able to overcome challenges based on your skill set, and I didn't play that game because it predicted 9/11. That's sus as fuck. So I can't compare the two, but in Cyberpunk, it doesn't matter what you do. All I did was invest into reflexes and fitness traits so I could be an actual Terminator. Like, why would I be a nerdy hacker when I can actually escape reality and be a fucking Terminator?
Get down.
But even with that, I was still sucking down health kits like they were EpiPens in a peanut butter and bee factory. It let me open up some doors and have a few cool conversation topics, but I didn't feel that the upgrades I was getting really enhanced my playstyle. Just had a lot of stat increases from my guns. And my Mantis Blades. Now, while I loved the world, traversal was just not great. It looks nice when looking at a YouTube video, but in reality, you're focusing way too much on the minimap rather than on the world or what's in front of you. Some people have said the driving is like GTA or Saints Row, but I remember being able to turn in those games. Don't get me wrong, you get used to the sensitive steering, but this combined with having to always look at the minimap takes away a lot of the beauty from this game. But what made it stand out was the amazing story and characters. What made The Witcher 3 the best game of the 8th console generation was not its mechanics, but rather the story and characters you interacted with. CD Projekt Red knew this was what we wanted and ensured this was their main priority. Sure, there were a few side quests that felt a bit rushed in their story, and even some having no story at all, but the majority of the ones I played had so much depth to them. From chasing down rogue AIs controlling Ubers, to going through a serial killer's dreams, to getting a rock band back together for one more gig. They all feel so distinct and memorable. My favorite quest was with these two cops trying to talk to their buddy who became depressed after one of his close friends died recently. You're able to talk to him and open up a bit about his friend, and eventually you find out where he was buried and you go visit his grave, and you find out... Oh, by the way, the spoilers, so go to this time. And you find out that it's a fucking turtle.
Hello, Mind Turtle.
And at first you're just laughing to yourself thinking, what the fuck am I doing? But then V comments that that turtle was that guy's only friend. One of those cops I was talking about kept giving him shit about being weak at work. And instead of taking his advice, he just stopped talking to him and became more reserved. And now with his only friend gone, he just feels alone. This was such a tiny quest, and I don't think a lot of people will find it, but fuck man, this shit is relatable. At first I thought this game was going to be about what it meant to live. Should we throw away our lives at a chance for infamy, or be lost in the vastness of time? But the story, or the friends we made along the way. Just this aspect alone was Game of the Year material, and what sucks is that the developers put in so much work to make this city and these characters feel so alive, and as easy as it is to blame bad business practice, we need to look at a few facts. Cyberpunk tried way too much and promised even more, like NPCs having their own day and night routine. They also tried making versions for the PS4, PS4 Pro, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, Microsoft, what the fuck is wrong with your branding department? PC, and Google Stadia. This game was doing too much for too many consoles. The budget for this game was already past $300 million. Oh, that's wrong? Sorry, I meant to say $330 million. Over $200 million spent on marketing. This game is also pushing other games back every time it had to be delayed. Like right now, there are almost no games to play in December and almost all of January because Cyberpunk was going to be the new hit game for the next month. But I think the most depressing part of it all were the fans who were sending the death threats to the developers because of these delays. Not the bugs, but delays, especially between the November and December delay. Fans who never played the game acting like it was the next coming of Christ. Probably the same people who threatened Naughty Dog devs after releasing The Last of Us Part 2, and the same people who threatened Hello Games after delaying No Man's Sky. Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't be angry with CD Projekt Red, but we have to remember this. It is only a video game. Expensive? Sure. Time consuming? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Of course. Do I recommend you buy it? I can't. I am very against games getting a pat on the back for improving itself after a horrible release. You know No Man's Sky? Do you remember how much shit it got after its release? The bugs and lies just stacking on top of each other? Did you know it got an award in 2020 for patching itself? Like, if you thought Cyberpunk's release was bad, you should have seen No Man's release. It was not good, but eventually it got itself into a more realized version and fans really love it, and it's seeing a lot of players right now. Cyberpunk will be patched and we'll play it and enjoy it, like it should have been. But it then leads to this problem of releasing games in a completely unfinished state. Games can just trick us with false advertising and CG trailers to buy it day one. And with games transitioning more to digital while digital stores make it harder to return them, games are becoming more and more anti-consumer. Hype is intended to get gamers emotional and excited for a game's release, but now it's just another marketing tactic. It seems like I'm being hard on this game despite enjoying it, but I did enjoy this game for the reasons I loved The Witcher 3. It's not logical, but like I said, art is anything but logical, and this game is art. I think the problem with CD Projekt Red promised us a game unlike any other, and in some aspects they hit that mark, but it led to a very incomplete game. And like Icarus, CD Projekt Red's wings have been lit aflame. Our trust in them was trampled on, so viewers, instead of being angry, let's take this as a lesson. To all the microtransactions and pre-order bonuses, to the CG trailers, to the hype of series, auteurs, and company histories, let's just wait a bit before game releases and watch my videos.